Warm welcome to you all coming to the first event of part of the Commencement Week activities. It's such a pleasure to have you here. You're in for a treat with the public speakers that we've got here. I was reminded as I was getting ready, and learned this in the military very, very quickly, that there were two types of pressure: self-induced pressure and system-induced pressure. And the lads behind me are under a bit of both at the moment. There's an old saying that used to start off with, as unaccustomed as I am to public speaking. Well, mine's the other way. As accustomed as I am to public speaking, the self-induced pressure I continually put myself under is forgetting to bring my reading glasses. And I do this all the time, and I've done it again tonight. So if you see me myopically squinting, thank you, Scott. Just bear with me and be patient. Anyway, welcome to the events this evening. I've got a couple of housekeeping points for you before we start. First of all, if there is a fire or some sort of emergency, just follow our instructions, and myself and the Commandant's staff will lead you off to safety, as you would expect. Secondly, with inclement weather that we've been having this week, if there was a turn for worse in weather, again, listen to any instructions from ourselves as a school, and we'll be taking care and looking after you in the same way as we take care and look after the boys. So tonight, it's the Wallace Fry Public Speaking Competition, and I'm honoured to present it. My name's Mike Harding. I'm the Dean of Academics here at Missouri Military Academy. However, I cut my teeth in the middle school, teaching 6th grade, and then working my way through ELA, all the way up to dual credit English with 12th grade. And I also currently teach speech and rhetoric. So public speaking is something that is close to my heart. And I go back to the military again, where in the military, that's where I learned my trade, because you often have to persuade people to do things that they wouldn't otherwise want to do, or go against either their inherent nature or what they believe in. So you have to have a deft touch. You have to be gentle on occasion, strident on others, but you've got to be able to have persuasive skills, and you'll be able to articulate that properly. That's what we try and engender here at MMA. And as I said, it's something that is close to my heart. If we're looking at a unique selling point for our cadets when they're looking to apply for colleges, that they have those interpersonal skills, that they're able to go for a job and say, look, choose me, whatever it might be. And in some ways, it starts here with our public speaking program and the Wallace Fry speech competition. The 3 awards the boys will be competing for tonight are as follows. The Joy McGeorge Middle School Oratory Award, and it is presented to the middle school cadet whose speech is judged to be the best on the basis of charismatic and knowledgeable oratory skill. The next award is the Winston Churchill Memorial Award, and this is presented to the cadet who speaks most persuasively on behalf of a just cause. And then finally, we have the keynote prize for the evening, the Wallace Fry Cup for Excellence in Speaking, and it's presented to the cadet whose speech is judged to be the best on the basis of delivery, content, and depth of thought. Those are the prizes. I welcome you all. In particular, I welcome General Geraci as the president of MMA and his wife. I also welcome Mr. McGeorge, whose wife, Joy, was the one who initiated the Joy McGeorge Middle School Oratory Award. And as President Emeritus, he will be presenting that award on behalf of his wife later on tonight. So thank you very much for doing that. Even more so, I want to give a big thanks to the judges that we have who volunteered their time to come tonight and judge our boys on their public speaking. And I'm just going to introduce them. Please give them a round of applause when I call out their names. And I don't mean to embarrass you, but I do. I'm going to read a little biography for the 3 of you as well, just so that people in the audience understand who we've got here tonight and what a pleasure it is to have them being here. First of all, Mr. Greg Center. A round of applause. Thank you. He's a 1991 graduate of the Missouri Military Academy and was a participant in the Wallace Fry speech competition 30 years ago in 1989. He graduated as a battalion commander of the 102nd Corps of Cadets. in 1991. He currently serves as the treasurer of the Alumni Association here at MMA. Mr. Center is a global real estate advisor for Sotheby's International Realty based out of Sarasota, Florida, and travels the country speaking on technology in real estate, in how to use its benefit for customers, clients, and communities. Thank you for coming. Our next judge is Miss Penny Doherty, who graduated from Mexico High School. Please give her a round of applause. And attended Central Missouri State University in Warrensburg. Ms. Doherty has worked at her family-owned radio station since 1999, where she served as copywriter, ad producer, and is currently the office manager, traffic director, accounts receivable manager, and vice president. She served on the Mexico Area Chamber of Commerce, where she served as president in 2015, Mexico Area United Way, where she also served as president in 2013, Altruza International of Mexico, Missouri, where she again served as president from 2005 to 2007. She is currently the District 8 Governor of Altruza International Incorporated. Ms. Doherty enjoys working with like-minded people with servant hearts to make a difference in our community, and it's a real pleasure having you here tonight as well. Thank you. And finally, I'd like to introduce Lieutenant Colonel retired Scott Zimmerman. Scott is a 28-year veteran of the United States Army and Missouri Army National Guard. He is the department head of the Leadership and Military Studies Department under the School of Business and Technology at William Woods University. Scott is also the Missouri Military Academy liaison for William Woods and teaches the dual credit leadership course as part of our Triumph program. He holds a master's degree in Homeland Security and Terrorism Studies from American Military University and bachelor's degree in English from Missouri State University. Scott is also actively pursuing a doctorate in higher education, leadership, and management. And once again, thank you for coming. Thank you. So the way it worked this evening, the boys will get up to do their speeches. Remember, for some of them, it's the first time they've ever been in such having such a large audience. Be supportive of them. Think about it, what it must be like for them coming up here. I know they will do well. We will go through, starting with the middle school in alphabetical order, followed by the high school. At which point, once that's completed, there will be a break. The jazz band, under the tutelage of both Rob McGrath and Freddie Lomas, who you've heard playing, they will play some more of their great incidental music whilst the judges retire to come up with a decision on the 3 awards. So without further ado, I'd first like to introduce Charles Davidson, who's now going to speak to you about 3 leadership qualities that can change the world.
Hello, my name is Charlie Davidson, and I will be discussing with you 3 leadership qualities that I think could change the world. Justice, judgment, dependability, initiative, decisiveness, tact, integrity, enthusiasm, bearing, unselfishness, courage, knowledge, loyalty, and endurance. These are the 14 Marine Corps leadership qualities. They are just 14 words, yet they are very important. They are what make a good leader. But they are also something that could help everyone in their everyday life to improve their viewpoint of the world and their interaction with and around people. All of them are important and should be considered when you have to set an example to those around you and to those who your actions and words are most important to. These days, a lot of people are setting very bad examples for the ones that look up to them. They are just not thinking about what they are really doing. So I came up with 3 leadership qualities that could help people set better examples and help the world. The leadership qualities that we could improve on the most are dependability, judgment, and tact. Dependability is one of the most important, and is one that many people need to better understand. Dependability means that you're reliable, you can be trusted with things, and you can be trusted to do things that your friends and comrades trust with you. If you are dependable, then you try your best to fulfill your duties. This is important because if you are not dependable, then how can you help you and your friends accomplish the things that you need to? And if nobody is dependable, then how can we get anything done? If you are not dependable, then how can you help those around you? How can you be of use? To be dependable, you need to be able to be trusted enough to be relied on. To show dependability, you need to be ready to help. You also need to know how not to help people, because sometimes they need to learn on their own. A dependable person is able to think about how their actions and words affect others. But this has more to do with the next quality, judgment. Judgment is the ability to take in information you see around you and use it to influence how and what you do and think. You can make the right decision based on what is happening around you. A lot of people are lacking this quality and are not really thinking about what they are doing. They make bad decisions without thinking about the consequences of their actions. You should use good judgment before you act and decide if you are making a good choice. Thinking about your actions and consequences is a good way to make sure that you are on the right path. You should consider what your words and actions can do to the people around you. The next quality calls for you to use judgment when interacting with others as well. Tact is the ability to interact with people in a way that gets your point across, but manages not to sound rude or mean. You know how to talk to people in a way that does not offend anyone. Your actions towards other people are thought out. This quality is important because there are a lot of words and actions in this world that can offend people. A good leader is able to talk to people without offending them, but still getting their point across. And to be a good leader and a good person, you need to be able to understand others' feelings so you know how to approach certain situations. You should use tact to get through to people better. Words and actions that affect people on an emotional level convince them better than being mean to them. You should try to think about how others might react to certain words or actions. People better respond to someone that is not mean. The 14 leadership qualities are all important, but these are the ones that I think that people need to use more in their lives. So in conclusion, judgment, dependability, and tact are qualities that can improve the world, even if it's just by a little bit. But remember that a ripple in the ocean can end up causing a tidal wave on the other side. A little change can have a big effect. Also remember that you have people looking up to you. They will follow your example, and when they have people looking up to them or following them, they will set an example for them as well. 14 leadership qualities are important and help you set a good example for them. So make sure you set a good example for them to follow. Thank you.
I think you would agree, off to a good start there with a great speech there from Charles Davidson. It's always tough going first. As I'm speaking, you've got two others coming on the stage who had other duties to attend to, and they've finished those and they're now joining us on stage as well. Again, it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you now Dominic Desiderio, who's now going to speak to you about the 3 dangers of drunk driving. Thank you.
In 2016, 10,000 people died to drinking and driving. Around 28 people die every day to drinking and driving. In 2010, these incidents were a third of all traffic-related crashes. Drinking and driving has gotten out of control, even though there are multiple ways to stop it. Hi, I'm Cadet Dominic Desiderio, and I want to talk to you about this issue. You might be thinking, wow, listening to a middle schooler talk about drinking and driving. It is pretty weird. Well, let me tell you, this is an issue that has become a problem to all ages, and it must be stopped. A mass issue when people drink and drive is the cars around them. This is probably one of the worst drinking and driving incidents in history. In Carrollton, Kentucky, 1988, a drunk man driving a truck crashed into the front of a school bus, holding over 60 people, blowing the gas tank. People tried to evacuate them, but it turned to a flash fire type of situation. Over 30 people died, including the bus driver. They had to leave. Families were split. Friends lost friends. This messed up the lives of many people. All because of drinking one too many and thinking, I could drive. Your surroundings are as much of a risk as you are when you drive drunk. Another threat to drinking and driving is the people that are with you are at risk. A woman drove with 3 other men late at night without wearing their seatbelt. Being drunk at the wheel, you can probably guess what happened next. All 3 men died, leaving the woman by herself. She's insulted everywhere she went because of it, making her feel worse. She was eventually convicted of going to prison, and all those 3 kids left. Those 3 kids used to be successful kids in high school that were all thought highly of. They lost everything, including their own lives, to the decision of one person. Family, friends, and other lives are at risk when you put your hands on the wheel when you drive drunk. Whenever you drive drunk and put yourself in the driver's seat, you will always lose something. Your future runs on thin ice when you don't drive sober. This is the story of Sean Carter. When Sean was 22, he went drinking and driving with friends. He couldn't drive home because he drank one too many. His friend couldn't either. Carter was a business major at the university. He was athletic and was good at many things. But Saturday night, after drinking too much, he hopped into the passenger seat while his friend decided to drive. That's when the mistake was made. The crash left him with limitations. He couldn't eat, sleep, walk, or even go to the bathroom by himself. He no longer had his voice, having to have a computer as a replacement. Was it worth it? No, it wasn't. As for the driver named Ryan, Ryan wanted to be a football coach when he grew up and was a good kid. His dreams were no more after this. He was convicted of going to prison for 10 years, and the rest of his life, he would have to focus on mending the relationship with Carter. The devotion of his life was taken away from him over one decision. You might think, at least it never happened to anyone close to me. That's what I thought too, until my father told me his story. When my father was young, he went with his best friend to celebrate his birthday. His friend's dad was going to take him to Red Lobster for the first time. His friend's dad, though, was going through a tough time in his life and went driving while drunk. He crashed into a telephone pole, making the telephone pole push past the motor into his chest. He's like a dad to my father. His friend's dad couldn't fully recover due to his body rejecting medicine. My dad lost only one of the most powerful figures in his life. His friend lost his father, all over one decision. Don't take the risk of driving those 2 extra miles or so to get home. Think before you do. Drinking and driving has many consequences. So many things can be unpredictable when you drive drunk. You lose things physically, you lose things mentally, you lose things that are important to you. Make the right decision when you're not in the right state of mind to lay your fingers on the wheel. This is the best way to stop the issue. People have lost family, friends, people they care about most. Now, I'm not saying drinking is bad. What you do when you drink is the problem. Drunk driving has become a massive issue, but you can stop it. Just think before you make the wrong decision. Be safe. Thank you and good luck to my fellow contestants.
Again, another good speech from a middle school cadet, heartfelt and in-depth as well. With that, I'd like to finish off with the middle school cadets with Gorka Aitoyate, who's going to talk to you now about the value of time. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Gorka Aitoyate Sartuche, and I will be speaking about the value of time. Growing up as a kid, I did not entirely know how time should be managed. I determined that time was like a flower, and it would grow back just as beautiful as it was. But growing older and starting to see the change in the world by the major things that are happening nowadays, I learned that time does not stop, and that you should appreciate it because you'll ask for it one day. By practicing time management, an individual's stress level will decrease. There will be an increase in discipline and growing confidence. Coming to MMA for the 2018-2019 academic year made me a better person. I've changed my character and my curiosity over cultural and linguistic systems of this country, the United States of America. My friendship has developed in ways of communication and being more determined in myself. But one thing that stuck out for me this year was that I learned that time is valuable, and if you don't take care of it, you can make it a regret in life. Time is strong and more powerful than anything else in this world, and they should enjoy every second of your life. Do not wait for something to come to you. Life does not come to you, but you to it. So, encourage yourself to try something new in your experiences in life. A question that I very frequently ask myself is, will we be able to live a normal life in the future and not be stressed over late work and decision, being too occupied in technology, because being overly connected to this new way of communications can change your relationships and fellowship. But besides that, it affects who we are and can have negative repercussions. Just like Henry David Thoreau said, it is not enough to be busy. The question is, what are we busy about? Because there are people in this world that need help, because they're lost, not found, in a place where no one cares about them, where they have fear over what's coming in the future, trying to get their lives together, to have a roof to live under, food to put on their tables, and a purpose in their lives. But at the end of the day, they learned and did nothing but to try to survive and live a normal life. This unfortunately common series of events is a side effect of not having the opportunity of learning time management. With the proper use of time, anyone can set themselves up for success in their lives and the lives of those that they touch. About a year ago, I experienced an earthquake in Mexico City while being with my older sister and my grandfather, where I thought that was the last of my days, and I would never see my family and friends again. While being in this earthquake, the floor was shaking and I felt confused and fearless. My grandfather told me and my sister to calm ourselves down and to pray and wait for hope for the best. I'm mentioning this as an example of how valuable and important time is, and how you don't know what can happen in life. Since that earthquake, my ways of spending my time have increased in levels of interest of education, finding ways of friendship, and being a better example as a leader. I am more open for everyone so I can be the best version of myself. Now at the school, I sense a way of hope in the future, and with the lessons that I have in my heart over time management, I can explore the world and all the unknown things, and the things that I already know, I can learn them even more. When talking about time, we also talk about God. For me, God's words to me are that you should use your time wisely because He knows that there are many things in life that can distract us from what truly matters. When not listening to these instructions, it all gathers up in our experiences in life as waste. Just like one of my favorite quotes that pictures life said, "Life and time are the world's two teachers. Life teaches us to make good use of time, while time teaches us the value of life. When learning these terms of living, you make life part of your time." As a brief of what I've learned about the value of time, I recommend everyone in this gym, the judges, my lovely parents and grandfather, the parents and families of these cadets to think before they act, going from following directions, bright thoughts, good talking, and going on the right lane in all circumstances. Because if you move to the wrong lane, there will be a severe cost on the bad decision that you had made. The same thing when you're referring to life. Wrong decisions will lead to challenging ways to continue on what you love to do on this universe and have a good reputation. Like some people say, what is unfixable cannot be fixed. Thank you very much.
I just want you to think about it as a middle school cadet, what that must feel like coming up here. Mark Twain said something about an impromptu speech taking about 3 weeks to prepare or something like that. These boys have been hard at it in their classes for days and weeks and been practicing. And after we did our rehearsals for the whole school assembly and the commencement ceremonies for Saturday, the boys came in here again and could be seen up on here practicing, going through their speeches as well. So before we move on to the high school, what I'd ask you to do is please give the middle school cadets another round of applause. No pressure. We now move on to the high school cadets. We've got 4 cadets here tonight who are going to speak to you on a variety of subjects. And we're going to start off now with Rene Garcia Garza, and he is going to talk to you about the question, can a man change the world? Thank you.
You must be the change you want to be in the world, by Mohandas Gandhi. Warm greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming and making this event a success. I am Cadet Rene Garcia Garza from Cadereyta Jimenez, Nuevo León, Mexico. And today, I want to talk to you about a very important thing for me. Can a man change the world? In my opinion, anyone can change the world, regardless of her height, race, color, religion, or language. But I am sure that some people in the audience are asking themselves, how will be the world after it will change? Well, I'm not sure of that, but there is something I'm sure of. It will be a better place. But if you want to know how to change the world, I will tell you how to do it in some simple steps. Number 1, clean your room before you leave. If MMA showed me something, is that it's nothing more frustrating than have a terrible day and arriving to your room that is a mess. I know that this can sound stupid for some people in the audience, but if you want to change the world, you need to start cleaning your room first. Because after a bad day at school or work, it's nothing better than arriving to your room and see that it is clean. And this gives you a lot of hope that the next day will be a better day. In that case, if you want to change the world, you need to start cleaning your room. Number 2, don't run away from your problems. If my friends at the Berwick showed me something, is that I can run away from my problems the time that I want. But one day, that problem will come to me again, and I will not be able to skip it again. That's why, if you want to change the world, you need to start facing your problems and beat them as soon as possible. Number 3, find your battle buddy. This is one of my favorites, because the commandant of cadets at MMA taught me this one. He always told us that we need a battle buddy for all our adventures and wherever we go. Always have a friend for you, because remember that fighting a battle is easier with someone than alone. Like in real life, it's easier to do something with someone that understands you than do it alone. That's why, if you want to change the world, you need to always remember to have your battle buddy ready to change it too. Number 4, the power of hope. The power of hope is the strongest power in this world, because it gives us the hope that we can do or beat something that the people think that is impossible. For example, weeks ago, I knew the history of an old cadet here at MMA and his father, who had a very bad disease. This man always had hope in himself beating the disease. The doctors told him that he couldn't do a lot of things anymore, but this man, with the power of hope, could do it again. For me, a very valuable example of person to follow, because he never gave up in spite of his pain. That's why, if you want to really change the world, you need to always have the hope that you can do it, no matter what. Number 5, all the people around the world are different, and everyone judges everyone how they want. But maybe this is the worst mistake that we could do. Because if we start judging people by their appearance and not for how they are, we're missing a big part of them. That's why I think that we shouldn't do this anymore. And because we need to remember that without people's support, we cannot change the world. That's why, if you want to change the world, you do not judge people by their appearance. You do it by the size of their heart. Number 6, remember that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. This is a very wise phrase that my old roommate told me when I was having a hard time. What I mean is that everything bad that will happen or happen to you is making you stronger and better for a good. This is maybe the most difficult step to accept, but once you accept it, your vision of this world changes a lot, making yourself stronger of mind and becoming you more mature to do better decisions that will change the world one day. In that case, if you want to change the world, you need to always be strong and remember that you can do it. Number 7, the right to give and gain respect from others is peace. What I mean is that first you need to start respecting other people to receive respect. Because after having the respect of everyone, the idea of changing the world is done for a little part, and it's easier to continue changing it. That's why, if you want to change the world, you need to start respecting others first. Number 8, take risks. If you want to do something or change something, you need to always take risks. One example of this step is this speech. Weeks ago, my mom asked me to compete at the Wallace Fry speech competition, but my answer was no. After that, she asked me why not to compete. What I replied to her was that my friends were going to make fun of me. After that, she told me that I shouldn't be afraid of that, and that sometimes in my life I need to take risks. At the morning after, to make her wish come true, I asked for information, and now you can see me here, giving this speech to you. In that case, if you want to change the world for everyone that you love, you need to take risks, no matter what. Number 9, give your best. It doesn't matter how hard the situation is or how tired you are. Always give the best part of yourself. Because if you always try very hard, you will complete everything that you want to achieve. For this reason, I think that if you, me, or someone else want to change the world, we need to give the best part of ourselves in the worst situations. Thank you.
Another good speech. Not quite sure what else to say. We're off to a good start with the high school as well. Moving on then, again, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Sharma Laurie, who's now going to talk to you about transformation through adversity. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much. I want to thank everyone for coming, especially my parents. If you haven't heard, Oklahoma has been torn to pieces by flooding and tornadoes, and so I'm very valued and honored to have them here tonight with me, safe and sound. Thank you. Before I begin this speech, I want to share with you the intention of this. I never expected to be up here on this stage in front of you all, but I'm so glad I am. See, everyone has a story of their own, and mine has been full of adversity. And this isn't just my story. This is a story of my mom, my stepfather, and many others in this room. You may have experienced a different one, but you all have your story. So without further ado, I'll begin. Tonight, I propose a series of questions to you. What are you made of? What are you really made of? When the rubber meets the road, the chips are on the table, and there is no turning back, what lies inside of you? Good evening, everyone, and thank you for coming. My name is Cadet Shama Lurie. The questions I have outlined before you are centralized around one idea. That idea is adversity. Adversity is one of nature's prime ways of transforming others by developing a strong moral compass and a positive sense of character. Although adversity is relative and some may experience different forms of adversity, it is still a critical role in the development of any individual's moral character. With this said, I want to share with you my personal experiences with adversity and how I overcame it, as well as how it has shaped me and my future. During my 19 years of life here on Earth, I've experienced three major adversities in my life. My first one is dealing with the hardships of abuse. I grew up in a small town in Oklahoma called Talala, a very small town. I think they only had a population of 10 and a Sonic. I grew up with my father, my mother, and my two sisters. At a point in my time where I did not fully understand or remotely remember what happened to me at that moment, my mother was kicked out of my life. My father made some terrible decisions in his life, and he became friends with a business partner who he was very close to for over 20 years. During that time, I faced a series of adversities, two of those being physical and sexual abuse. Living with abuse at that age may seem easier than you think. Because at that moment in my life, I didn't understand what was going on. I didn't have any comprehension. I didn't understand the gravity of the situation. As I got older, reached the age of 12 and 13, pushing on, it began to change me. I began to feel guilty. Maybe I did something wrong. I began to question myself and my decisions. It almost broke me. Ultimately, how I developed and coped with this adversity was my unique desire to help others. As I have gotten older, I've realized that me personally, I have a calling, and that is to help others. I have a story, and I can share with others. This brings me to my second adversity, and that's in assimilating into a new environment, or assimilating back into society. After that point in my life, I was then transferred back to my mom's custody. A series of events occurred, and I was blessed and was picked up by my mom. The life in the new environment was very difficult, very challenging. I remember the first time I walked into the room, my very own room. And I had never had my own room. I remember the Red Sox blankets, the Red Sox curtains. I was a big Red Sox fan. Not just the environment was an issue, but my behavior was an issue. I was neglected for several years, almost 7. I had extreme behavioral issues, and I didn't know how to fully express my emotions. And that became difficult as I went into education. When I went into education, granted I had been neglected for 7 years and deprived of early education, it was a very big challenge for me. I was bullied, I was mocked, I was different. I remember I had hearing aids at that point, and I was different, and other people saw that and took advantage of it. Ultimately, what helped me cope with this adversity was my mom. I remember coming home from school one night, and my mom sat me down. She obviously saw that I was disturbed, and she sat me down, and she asked, what's going on? I told her about it. I was being bullied. I really didn't want to go to school. I was at the point where I wanted to quit. I remember my mom telling me and this has stuck with me to this very day. There are others in this world who have it far worse than you do. No matter what you've been through or how far down you've gone, there's someone in this world that's a little farther down than you. So you need to count your blessings. And that stuck with me and really translated into pushing me and motivating me in school and beyond. Finally, my nearest and dearest to my heart, my final adversity is my mother's near-death experience with cancer. My mom was diagnosed with stage 4 bladder cancer back in December of 2017. It was a very difficult time, and we faced many adversities. My mom faced many adversities. The challenges I faced during this time were mostly school and continuing with life, continuing to move on, to be strong. Ultimately, how I dealt with this adversity is through faith. I remember coming home from the ICU when my mom was in intensive care unit, not knowing if she would survive or not, and I had to commute back and forth to get to school. And I remember there's a song that played and by an artist named Matt Redman, 1,000 Reasons. If you don't know, Matt Redman is a Christian artist, and he's very well known. There was a verse in there that spoke to me that night, and I broke down, but I broke down with tears of joy and tears of hope because I realized that my mom is going to make it through. And I want to read that. The sun comes up, it's a new day dawning. It's time to sing your song again. At that moment, I realized that my mom was going to be able to sing her song again. And she is. She is. October 12th, 2018, a day that will live in infamy for me. It was a senior night, classic football game, Friday night, and we were being escorted out. I was being escorted by my coach, and my parents were nowhere to be seen. I didn't think that they told me they weren't able to make it. Lord and behold, in a van across the way, as soon as they called my name, out popped my mom and dad. That was one of the most beautiful moments in my life. She ran up I ran up to hug her, and we walked out on the field, and she whispered in my ear and told me that she had beaten it. And I asked her again, what beat what? I beat cancer. Stage 4 bladder cancer. I was overwhelmed with emotion, and I was overwhelmed. I just hugged her, and I just thought that for once something was going on. I can push through this. I can push through this. With all things considered, adversity is no walk in the park. It is meant to be challenging, and in some cases will test us to the very end. That said, adversity is again nature's prime way of transforming others by developing a strong moral compass and a positive sense of character. The adversities that I experienced in my life are relative to the ones that others may face. However, we will be all transformed by the hardships we endure. So with that said, I again leave you with these questions. What are you made of? What are you really made of? When the rubber meets the road, the chips are on the table, and there is no turning back, what lies inside of you? Thank you.
Another quality speech. Just bear with me. Another quality speech from the high school. And just to get me off the stage as quick as possible before this gets embarrassing, I'd like to introduce you to Michael Norton. There's a theme here. He's also going to talk to you about life is adversity as well. Just bear with me, because I'm going to overcome this little obstacle now if I can. Thank you.
There we go. Now, I'm pretty sure many of you noticed everyone else is walking up here with big stacks of paper, and I'm walking up here with a paper cup with a little bit of water in it. I'm gonna be honest, I lost my speech. But don't worry, I still got something for you all. Which brings me up to my point that life is full of adversity. I'd like to open up with a story, a hypothetical story, about a man named, we'll call him Jimmy. Now, Jimmy is a 15-year-old boy, and he's going through life. He has a loving mom and dad, a sister, dogs, cats, all the such. He's going through, he's playing sports, he's doing all sorts of extracurricular activities, he's a decent kid. But then one day, tragedy strikes Jimmy. Jimmy lost his mother. Now, this was world-crushing to Jimmy. Jimmy couldn't understand how to react to it. He shared everything with his mother, his thoughts, his emotions. And losing her was not only a big blow to him, but it was a big blow to both his friends who have come to know her as a mother as well, his family who have known her as a mother, a wife, a daughter. And Jimmy is, rightfully so, distraught by this. Years go by, Jimmy starts to put on medication and forced to go to therapy sessions. He starts to back out of the sports and activities he was involved in. And he goes on through life with very little left in him. But I'd like to go back. Suppose in another timeline, Jimmy, about a year afterwards, he's still distraught, he's still hurt, rightfully so. But Jimmy decides that he's not going to wallow in his sorrow. He is going to pick himself up from the bootstraps and carry himself into a better future, if not for him, for his mother. And so Jimmy starts to participate in the sports again. He starts to get involved in more things. He wants to become the best possible Jimmy that Jimmy can be. And lo and behold, he starts to bring his family together. He starts to become a better friend, and he's looked up to in society. There are two types of people in this world: cat people and dog people. But there are other two types of people in the world too: those that quit in the face of adversity and those that do not. Those who are able to keep moving on are the ones that we look up to, the ones that when you're reading about them in your history class have the words "the great" next to them. And not only are some of them written down, but the ones that people love the most, the ones that I'm sure all of you look up to, have been the ones that have been able to overcome the obstacles set in their life. Because there's only one thing that's certain in life, aside from that it stops happening eventually. We all have adversity, whether that be the loss of a loved one, such as a mother, father, wife, or a crushing breakup. I know many of you cadets may be upset that you didn't get designated whatever you wanted, but keep in mind that it may be only a tiny setback. life is defined by how you react to the situations you've been dropped in. And whether you choose to pick yourself up, cadets, to become better leaders and better cadets, to show that maybe you deserve something, or whether to quit and give up. So before I leave, I'd like to challenge everyone in here to overcome that adversity that they have in their life, whatever it may be. Thank you.
Following on, and with our final speaker tonight, I'd like to introduce Sky Thunderchild, who's now going to talk to you about labels and discrimination. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, faculty, staff, parents. My name is Sky Thunderchild, and I'm here to talk to you about labels and discrimination. Discrimination, despair, disappointment, they all do come to the dome when taking time to thoroughly talk about the tough truth in a world full of discrimination and inequality of people found everywhere, including in America. So let me ask you, have you ever been discriminated against? Or have you ever discriminated others? Well, the discrimination of people all across the world and in America is no other word but crazy. From the world being born to Donald Trump now being our 45th president, discrimination and inequality can and has been seen all across America due to a person's skin color, religion, political beliefs, and even their sexual orientation. The U.S. Bureau of Justice Statistics concluded that an African American male born in 2001 would have a 42% chance of going to jail in his lifetime, while a Latino male would only have a 27% chance, and a white male left with 9%. Also, after being arrested, African Americans are 33% more likely than whites to be detained while facing a felony trial in New York City. And this is put together from a survey by the New York Police Department. But many people put it to the side, but you can see it every day walking down the street of any diverse city such as New York or LA, both on different coasts, but both in our country. Now let's get to the subject of labels. People in the past, and even in today's day of age, are given labels, in my opinion, such as myself. I mean, I'm not red, but I am. Well, that's what the world calls me, and that's what you guys were meant to call me, and it's not me. Do you get it? I wasn't born coming out saying, hey everybody, I'm red or black or white. No, I was taught to follow and act like my label. I was taught to be red. I was taught, and you were taught to call me that, along with whatever you call yourself. But just remember, it's all a label. See, from birth, the world force feeds us these labels, and eventually we all swallow them. We digest, and then we accept these labels, never ever doubting them. But labels are just labels, and labels are not you, and labels are not me. But who we truly and really are is not skin deep. See if you can grasp this. When I drive my car, no one would ever confuse the car for me. Well, when I drive my body, why do people confuse me for my body? It's my body, not me. Make sense? Well, let's break it down. Our bodies are just the cars that we drive around. The dealership, which is what we would call society, decided to label mine the red edition, yours the white, black, or Asian edition. And with no money down, 0% APR, and not even a test drive around the block, we were forced to own and drive these cars for the rest of our lives. And yet, some people of today's society are discriminated against for the cars that they are forced to drive every day of their lives. So let me ask you, who would you be if you were never given a box to check? If you were never given your label, would you be white, black, Mexican, Asian, Native American, Middle Eastern? There's so many choices. And this just brings me to one of the biggest things that comes up to play a role in discrimination and inequality of people in America. And that's racism, racism, racism. It's the reason why black people wish they weren't discriminated against for the way they live and what kind of color their skin is. Why Middle Eastern people wish that they weren't discriminated against for the God that they pray to. And why Native Americans wish that they weren't discriminated against, had tear gas thrown at them, sprayed with a fire hose, and dogs sent on to them, all because of peacefully praying at a protest in North Dakota to fight a pipeline that would run right through the sacred land of the Sioux Nation and break many governmental treaties. So, why do people need to be the first black this or the first white that? It makes no sense that it can't be the first American this or the first American that. So this brings me to the answer of war, racism, sexism, and basically every other ism. And it's so simple that even every politician has missed it, but it's the labels. We must rip them off. It's so funny how a baby will cry when they hear another baby cry, no matter the gender, skin color, religion, or culture. And this is our mission, and that's proving a point deep down that in this world that feeds us fiction and only distorts our vision is that we are meant to connect and care for each other. It's sad and upsetting that most people won't go out and fight for what we want, but we must break out of our shells and spread our ideas and voices with our thoughts and break these labels that are holding people back from being amazing and being great. So now I leave you with this. Human beings were not meant to be slapped with labels like we're groceries at a supermarket. Our DNA cannot be regulated by the FDA, and we were meant to be free. And only until you stop thinking and living so small will we be finally free and able to see each other for who we truly and really are. Thank you.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The speeches from both the middle school and the high school. Can you give them all another round of applause, please? Just before we take a break for the judges to decide who should be the worthy winners of each of the awards tonight, there's a couple of things I was thinking about when I was listening to them. And one of the ones is it gives me a great deal of joy and pride doing the job I do. There's a couple of boys behind me, they know who they are, and some of the others know who they are as well, that I taught in middle school. And to watch them and how they have transformed themselves from working their way up from little seventh graders who were the size of they are there to the size that they are there, fills me with a lot of joy. And one of the reasons I became an English teacher after a career in the military was these three things here, and I've got them here: risk, adversity, and confidence. And I think you'll agree with me, the way the boys have performed tonight, and what I always thought as being as an English teacher, was instilling that confidence, getting them to take risks in the classroom, whether that be adventurous vocabulary, taking on a subject that they wouldn't feel confident with, and finding that level and that adversity that you've heard about there. And in the words of Clint Eastwood in Heartbreak Ridge, improvise, adapt, and overcome. So once again, the boys, to get to where they've got to tonight, have competed against many of their peers, have practiced hard, and this has been the result. We're going to break shortly for the judges, as I said, to decide on the awards. The band will be playing here. The lights will come back on again. We will do as we did before, that magic flickering of the lights, just as a signal for you to please take your seats, and then the awards will be given. Thank you very much for your patience so far, and I'll see you in a bit. Thank you. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. After much deliberation, can't even say it. After much deliberation, the results are in. Once again, a big round of applause for the judges that we have here in front of us. They've done a grand job there. Thank you. At this point also, I want to recognize the English department who is scattered around the auditorium, but we have David Mahurin, who's on your right over there, who's trying to in the background. Justin Carmichael, who's trying to be invisible down there at the moment as well. And Maddie Fitz up on stage here with me today. And I have to tell you, or just remind you again, they are the catalyst for the work that you and speeches that you've seen here tonight with all the effort that they've put in with the English department. Without further ado, the way it will work is I'm going to ask for the Joy McGeorge Oratory, Middle School Oratory Award. I'm going to ask Mr. McGeorge to come up in a moment. And then when we do the remainder of the awards, if I could have a representative from the judges to come up to present those awards as well. So, the Joy McGeorge Middle School Oratory Award. And just to add to that tension, I'm going to read out the descriptions for it again. It's presented to the middle school cadet whose speech is judged to be the best on the basis of charismatic and knowledgeable oratory skill. And it is awarded to Cadet Desiderio. The next award is the Winston Churchill Memorial Award, and it's presented to the cadet who speaks most persuasively on behalf of a just cause. And this award is presented to Sky Thunderchild. And finally, the William Wallace Fry Cup for Excellence in Speaking is presented to the cadet whose speech is judged to be the best on the basis of delivery, content, and depth of thought. And it is awarded to Renee Garza. A wonderful evening, some great speeches there as well. This concludes the William Wallace Fry speech competition. I'm saying William Wallace, I'm going back to Scotland again. That's something that I'm holding on to in the back of my head. Okay, it's a safe space and place. Anyway, that concludes the evening. It's the first event of a fun-packed weekend. Tomorrow we have the all-school assembly at 10:15. Please come along. Be careful driving home tonight and coming back again tomorrow. I look forward to seeing you again. And once again, thank you for all of you, and to the cadets as well, for making it such a great evening. Thank you and good night.